Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have an Age of Sigmar start collecting video for you for Warhammer Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. And today we're going to be looking at the start collecting box Slaanesh Daemons for the faction, the Hedonites of Slaanesh. So this is one of those box sets that doesn't actually have the name of the faction on it, so that is just worth remembering. There's no army as Slaanesh Demons properly in Age of Sigmar, though you can completely run a full Slaanesh Demons army. The army that this box set belongs to is called Hedonites of Slaanesh. Now let's talk a little bit about the contents inside this box set. For starters, we have an Exalted Seeker Chariot. This can be built in a bunch of different ways, and in fact it can be also split up into a couple of different smaller chariots, but definitely I recommend building one nice big Exalted Seeker Chariot with your Herald of Slaanesh on top of it. This is a great piece that can work well in a couple of different Slaanesh armies that just charges around the battlefield doing mortal wounds and generally being a nice good hammer unit that can act pretty independently on its own. The rest of the box set is made up by 5 Seekers of Slaanesh. These are really super fast cavalry. They're allowed to run, not only run 2d6, but they also can run and charge later in the turn. So they've got some great play being able to get right into your opponent's backfield straight off the bat. And Daemonettes are your pretty much baseline sort of demon. They've got Ren 1, they have run and charge, really useful unit and a couple of useful rules there to have about. They're pretty flimsy, albeit said, like most things in Slaanesh, you are generally made of wet paper, but you can hit pretty hard. Now, the thing with this is to mention that Slaanesh generally have Rens sort of army-wide. There's a lot of Ren 1 across all the troops in the army. Even your baseline troops, the Daemonettes have that Rens. Slaanesh also have a decent amount of summoning, and all the demon models inside this box set are available to summon for Hedonites of Slaanesh armies. Now that we've talked a little bit about what exactly is inside this box set, I want to sort of have a look at, first before we go into looking at other units and stuff, let's go have a look at the terrain piece and the endless spells for the faction and see how they work with the army. So to start off with, we have the scenery piece for the Hedonites of Slaanesh called the Fane of Slaanesh. For starters, its ability, I guess one of its main abilities is the fact that it can be used to summon models around it. Slaanesh summoning is generally focused around the heroes, though your Fane essentially acts like a hero and that you can summon around it in a bunch of different radiuses. And the other thing the Fane of Slaanesh does is you can gift to it some of your other model's blood by your units choosing to sort of prick themselves in a pinprick, very Sleeping Beauty-esque. And on a roll of a 1, nothing happens, but on a 2+, they get +1 to hit. Now, you can choose to sacrifice an artifact, and this can in fact be an artifact that's already been used if it is a once per game use artifact. And if you successfully make the same roll, 1, nothing happens, or a 2+, you get +1 to hit. This actually becomes a permanent bonus for the rest of the game for the model. So there's some play around with how you can use these once per game abilities to get a little bit of use out of them. And so next we have the endless spells for the Hedonites of Slaanesh. Like many armies, they have a box set that contains 3 endless spells. This isn't always the case, but Hedonites are one of those armies that has sort of the generic 3 inside their box set. And the first of these is the Wheels of Excruciation. It's a predatory endless spell that does mortal wounds based on rolling underneath your opponent's save characteristic. Now, what I mean by this is, say your opponent has a 5+ save. You're looking to roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4, any number underneath that same characteristic to do some mortal wounds to them. We then have the Mesmerizing Mirror. This is a non-predatory endless spell. It stays where it is deployed, and units that start a normal move, run, or retreat nearby it will take some mortal wound damage. In addition, it does mortal wounds to heroes specifically as well, as they sort of gaze into the mirror and it draws their soul out of them. You roll 6 dice and it does a number of mortal wounds rolled for each 6 equal to the amount of 6 rolled. So what this means is if you roll 1 6 on those 6 dice, it will do 1 mortal wound because there is 1 6. However, if you roll 2 6s, you will actually do 4 mortal wounds because there is 2 6s and each of those does a number of mortal wounds equal for every 6. So they do 2 mortals each. 3 would do 9, etc. We then have the last endless spell, the weird Slaaneshi mask looking thing with the giant tongue with hooks and barbs on it, is the Dreadful Visage. This is another predatory endless spell that does mortal wounds to units nearby. However, if any units nearby take damage from it, they'll be affected by the always strikes last rule. It also subtracts 1 from the bravery of enemy units and gives you +1 to your bravery around it, which is nothing to shirk at. Bravery is a massive thing in the new edition of Age of Sigmar. All these endless spells are pretty cool. They've all got very different effects and can bring about some really interesting sort of play to your Slaaneshi force. So where to next for our Slaanesh army? What units can we pick up after we've gotten those initial models that we need to sort of start off our Slaaneshi force? Well, Slaanesh has recently got a ton of updates in the Mortal Realms, and they've got some fantastic miniatures both to paint and use on the table. And there's even some old favourites that you might recognise if you're coming back into Age of Sigmar for the first time. For starters, let's look at the Mortals of Slaanesh. We've got Myrmidesh Painbringers, we've got the Symbarite Twin Souls, we've got things like the Lord of Pain and other mortals as well. There's a ton of great mortal combat units, but personally one of my favourite has to be the Myrmidesh Painbringers. The +1 save they have, giving them that 3-up save, is really nice. They're quite durable and can save a lot of stuff coming in at them. They are an anvil where the army generally doesn't have that many, so a great unit to have around. At 2 wounds each as well, they can even have some wounds on them each turn and still get you a ton of depravity points to keep that summoning machine going along. Ranged units is something else that's brand new to Slaanesh in a lot of the later releases, and we have the Blissbarb Archers and also mounted variations of them in the Blissbarb Seekers that we can use to give some ranged firepower to our Slaaneshi forces. Blissbarb Archers also do an amazing thing with the fact they can do a little bit of range damage. This means you can chip away and knock a wound or 2 off every unit a turn to potentially get a lot of depravity farming from this particular unit. All your shooting units generally bring this to the table. That little bit of chip damage, you're not looking for shooting units that are going to wipe anything out, but they can bring some chip damage to the table and help rack up that depravity so you can start summoning that a little bit more. They're a great use to have in a Slaaneshi army. We've then got the Beasts of Slaanesh, and 2 particular unit types I want to talk about here are the Slangor Fiendbloods and the Fiends of Slaanesh. 2 units that maybe don't see the table all that much, probably more so for the Slangor than Fiends. Neither of them are particularly the most competitive choice, but what they do give you that other units in your Slaaneshi army won't is that real sort of weird bestial look into Slaanesh. No other unit sort of has the aesthetics that these models do, and they do bring something interesting to paint and different to paint while you're building up your Slaaneshi force. Slangor Fiendbloods are long maligned as maybe a little bit of a joke unit due to some statistics they have on their war score. However, they do have a 2-inch reach, which means they can actually fight 2 ranks deep in some of those units that otherwise, unlike them, might not be able to do. And lastly, we've got a fantastic range of characters for Slaanesh. Whether it be small, non-named characters like the Shard Speaker or the Lord of Pain, your greater demons like the Keeper of Secrets, and even the twins Spirits of Slaanesh that have just come out, Dissecula and the other one, I forget the other name. However, we've also got Sigvold the Magnificent as well, reborn in Age of Sigmar, and he is absolutely amazing. Just a stunning model you can see right here. The Slaanesh character models have so much character to them, haha, lol. And they will, not only that, but they do give you a ton of things to the army. Sigvold himself is a fantastic piece to add to your army. He brings so much with his abilities to add that little bit extra to charge. And, well, look at that hair. How could you not want this model? And so here we go. This is a little sample army list for Slaanesh that we've put together that maybe you'd like to try out or build something around, or even just give you some sort of thoughts and some ideas to get your own brain ticking on how to build up a Slaaneshi army. So for starters, we're obviously playing Hedonites of Slaanesh, and we're going to be from the Godseekers. This gives us +1 to charge as our main ability, and also gives us a few little other things as well, but the +1 to charge is really the big thing we're getting here. We're going to take a Herald of Slaanesh on Exalted Seeker Chariot. This is going to be the model we build from the initial Start Collecting box. That's going to be our general. It's going to have the command trait Speed Chaser, which allows it to retreat and charge, which is absolutely humongous because this model gets bonuses when it charges. And then we're going to have the artifact Girdle of the Realm Racer. Now, this does lower our wounds on the model by 1. However, it gives us fly. So retreat and charge, add in fly. this is a really maneuverable model that does a lot of damage on the charge. The spell, because of what we've just said about the Girdle of the Realm Racer and its negative effect of giving us -1 wound, is going to be Born of Damnation. This is a healing spell we have access to, so definitely something it's going to be casting on itself a lot to make sure that those wounds are staying on it. For battle line, we've got 11 Blissbarb archers. The reason why it's 11 is there are 10 actual archers, but one of them is sort of like a thrower that's carrying around some poison fire stuff for them. We've then got 5 Seekers, which are become battle line due to us playing in Godseekers. So it's nice having 2 battle line units. The Blissbarb archers, as mentioned in the previous slide that we were talking about, give us some nice chip damage around the board to help farm depravity up and let us to summon some more troops to the battlefield. For other units, we've gone with 5 Myrmidesh Painbringers. These are going to be a great anvil unit that we otherwise lack in this force, where everything's sort of maneuverable, doing a little bit of damage, either chipping or outright just trying to charge in and do as much as possible, like the Seeker Chariot. The Painbringers are going to be a great unit to sit back and just sort of hold onto points that we need to hold onto the battlefield. For our Triumph, we've gone with Indomitable. Now, the great thing about Slaanesh is their summoning is based on units taking damage but not dying. So we need Indomitable here. What this can do is potentially allow us to ignore some battle shock tests where we're getting depravity for maybe one model left in the unit to keep our unit alive and just to keep them ticking over so that we get that depravity so we can maybe summon in replacements for that unit. For our grand strategy, we've gone with Predator's Domain. Now, Predator's Domain is a pretty simple sort of grand strategy to achieve. You literally just have to have more units controlling terrain at the end of the game over how many units your opponent has controlling terrain, and you get this grand strategy. So, end of the game, we've got a really fast army with some really fast units like Seekers and the Chariot. So we can really just get those units moving around, trying to rack up as much terrain control as possible and get us those extra and important 3 points for the grand strategy. I'd love to know what you're thinking of with Slaanesh in the new edition though. What do you think is going to work? How are you feeling about them? And most of all, if you've just picked up a Start Collecting Slaanesh box, let us know how you're going with it, what you're doing, and show us in the Discord server we've got as well, tagged in the description, how you're building up your force. Well, thank you all for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, while you're at it, why not come chat more with us on Discord? We've got a link in the description of the video below to our Discord server. You can come chat with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps support the channel in various different ways. First of all, to our Patreon members, Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, MJ, and Dyna226. Thank you to, as well, our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turriot12, Vinny, and Lock Lorick. And a special thanks to our artist who does all the channel art for us, Lady Witchfox Art, thank you very much. And to our Discord moderator, Xmorphic, you do a fantastic job on Discord for us as well. Thank you all, everyone, for watching. If you'd like to help support on Patreon or YouTube member or help support the channel in another way, you can do so by following one of the links in the description of the video to Patreon or YouTube members, or go buy some Sinful Gaming merch from our Teespring store, also linked in the video's description. That's it for today, everyone. Thank you again. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.